Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Bionicle Inspiration Series podcast. Today, we're going to be talking in pretty big detail about the Bio Cup, which is a contest that'll be beginning very soon. Very, very soon. The 12th of May is when the preliminary round will be announced. It's kind of the Bionicle contest of the year. It's where a lot of it's pretty much where the whole community comes together, and a lot of the A-game come in to really bring their best and to see who will be the winner of the Bio Cup. It's a pretty awesome, prestigious, and fun contest, and we're going to be talking a lot about that today. So yeah, if you've got a little, you're still kind of thinking about joining the Bio Cup, you're not too sure about it, you've got a few questions, we'll be answering that for you. Or if you kind of just want an hour-long BIS episode, this is also that. So you're going to enjoy this one. But to welcome me into this podcast, I'm going to be joined by a man who really is the Hugh Jackman of the Bionicle community. Hugh Jackman played the role of Wolverine for 17 years, and our guest here, he's been in the Bionicle community for quite some time as well. He was also the ringmaster in the fantastic movie The Greatest Showman. He put quite a good show together. He brought the house down. Well, our guest, he's been pretty instrumental in bringing the Bio Cup together, and the Bio Cup really is the greatest show. It's everything you've ever loved. It's everything you'll ever need, and it's here right in front of you. This is the greatest show, and we've got Mitch Henry to talk all about that great show. This is the Bio Cup. So, hey, Mitch, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How is the lockdown treating you?
Actually, not terribly. My job was deemed essential, so I've been.
Oh, that's good.
I've been staying pretty busy, but all in all, last year ended up shaking things up a lot more than this year. So I've been blessed.
That's good. I've kind of been the same, actually. I've been fine staying at home, and it's not been too much of an issue. But I've just been very busy with university work. They've been keeping me busy as well. So that's good to hear. It's good to hear that it's not been too much of a hassle or a problem for you. That's good to hear.
No, it's silver linings.
Yeah, exactly. Well, while we're on that, let's move into our first little segment here, which are a bit of a newer bit to the podcast, but it's one I think is fun. We'll move into Lego and Life Adventures, where essentially we just talk about what we've been getting up to in our life, whether it's Lego or non-Lego related. So, Mitch, have you been getting up to any fun Lego or non-Lego related adventures this week, this month, this year?
Well, with Lego, I just finished a mock of Toa Hellrix. I'm
you
not
did.
entirely
I saw
sure. Yeah, I just posted it not long ago. I'm not too sure if I'm gonna put in the canonization contest yet. I'm still thinking about it.
Okay.
I'll have to take more photos if I want to do that, but I don't know. It was kind of fun throwing that together. I'm not crazy about like Bionicle lore post 2004. A lot of it kind of loses me at that point, but I don't know. There was something fun about building Hellrix. I was talking to the underscore double, and he mentioned that when people build Hellrix, they don't often follow the description of her from the book that she appears in, where she's described as being like very frail in appearance.
Oh well, okay, yeah.
So he recently built a version that kind of looks like Onua, like from 2001, but as like Toa Hellrix and kind of almost a little skeletal looking.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and hearing that, I thought it might be fun to build like a Toa with more varied proportions. So I just decided to make something like very skeletal. So a lot of the design choices on it are like supposed to look like it has bones and stuff like that. I don't know. It was fun.
Yeah, it sounds fun. I mean, like it's one of those projects that because I just saw it this morning when I woke up, and like I've had teachers say that at university, like when you finish an assignment or something, and they look at you and they're like, "You had fun doing this, didn't you?" And you're like, "Yeah, I did." Looking at it, I'm like, I can tell you enjoyed making that. That's cool. It looks really good too. I like that you took a bit of inspiration from the book. I didn't even realize she was, there was a description of her in the book, but that's cool. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was fun because like I feel like one of my, not to talk about me during the Bio Cup coverage, but like I feel like the one of my weaknesses is that I'm not very good with texture. So I wanted to sort of like branch out a bit with Hellrix. So I included like a lot of the Thornax launcher pieces and the Stringer 4.0 like speaker bass pieces on the hips and the shoulders. And I don't know, I thought it looked cool.
I mean, I think it looks cool. Yeah, no, that's really cool. That's awesome. It's certainly a more unique mock from you. It's good. And hey, I mean, there's nothing wrong with you talking about yourself during the Bio Cup coverage there. I like what you said about the fact that you're specifically playing around with textures, and you said it's not one of your stronger points, so you're using this mock to kind of, test that out and get better at that. And I mean, to some degree, you could do that with the BioCup as well. So there you go.
Oh, for sure.
Any other fun adventures you've got up to this week, or anything that's, whether it's Lego related or not?
Well, with quarantine, there hasn't been a whole lot to do. Mostly just been at work or at home. I think the other day one of my mocks got blogged on the Brothers Brick, which was
fantastic,
kind of nice. The contributor who wrote it did, I thought, a really good job. He had like a lot of links to like some of the stuff that inspired it, or like other mocks similar to it. And it was like very, very well written. I thought it was a good read.
Oh, perfect. Well, that's good to hear. That's always a good accomplishment in the community. That's awesome. Nice work. For myself, couple things that I got up to. I'm kind of the same as you. Like, I haven't been doing a huge amount in lockdown, but I've been busy with university stuff. I've been editing some photography projects that aren't Lego related. It's just for assessments. So I had to put myself on an album cover and then make an alcohol commercial for myself, and it was good fun. I don't know if I'll share those, but they're there.
They sound cool.
Yeah, it was fun. And I learned a lot, and definitely expanding my Photoshop repertoire. Lego wise, I've got 2 system dioramas I'm working on. One is Jabba the Hutt's palace, and one's just sort of like a base thing from Star Wars. That's just kind of from my head. But I've just kind of been working on those, and it's been good fun. Yeah, that's kind of about it.
Yeah, sounds like fun.
We'll move into the questions. This was we got a few questions from Instagram. We both put out Q&As for that, and in general, just other questions that people have been asking kind of consistently. We wanted to make sure to answer them here, so that people had a good idea about what the BioCup is, what sort of stuff you can expect, all that different stuff. So we'll go through all those questions here. I'll get Mitch's opinion on them, and if I've got anything to say as well, I'll happily do that as well. So the first question that we've got, which was asked by a whole bunch of different people, is what is the BioCup? So, Mitch, what is the BioCup?
Okay, so BioCup is an annual tournament-style, construction-focused building competition that we host on Flickr. It began on mock pages in 2011, and since 2017, it's been hosted on Flickr under a new team of judges. The idea is to boost activity in the community and challenge what people think is possible with construction building. And construction is kind of a blanket term for themes like Bionicle and Hero Factory, Galador, so on and so forth, like buildable action figures.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I mean, that's always one of the lovely things about the BioCup, the stuff you were saying before about challenging the way that you can look at Bionicle and construction and all that sort of stuff, especially because there's been so many times that just incredible stuff's come out of the competition, and like you said, you'll see it blogged on Brothers Brick or all sorts of other places, and it's great because even sort of more primarily like system focused builders who kind of to some degree like maybe disregard Bionicle. I don't want to put words in their mouth, but it's not something that's in their field of vision or something that they think about a lot or look at, and suddenly really good stuff from the BioCup comes out and they're like, oh wow, like check this out, this is really cool, and it is a great way of bringing people together. So yeah, it's a great contest, and that's why I always like to cover it. But yeah, no, that's it's a good way of describing it. Glad that it's come back since the old Knock Pages days, and it's really become quite a prestigious contest, I guess. Yeah,
it's it's funny. It's like when I suggested bringing it back in 2017, I kind of like did it like suggested on a whim of like, oh hey, this would be kind of cool, and then like the rest of the judges who like wanted to be on board really pushed for like like really pushing for like for it to produce some really incredible stuff, and I was more just in like kind of a daze of like, oh, everything is awesome, right? And they were really pushing for like a lot of cool stuff to come out of it. Like I feel like even though I've never participated in BioCup, I feel like just being around those people who really know what they're looking for, really know what they're looking at, really helped me grow as a builder. And I think a lot of people who were in a similar position, participating, help them see the same things.
That's cool. And I like what you said there in terms of definitely it's a contest where some of the best come out, and specifically in some of the later rounds and stuff, like you're definitely going to see some really incredible stuff that's really pushing the limits of what you can do with construction. But at the same time, I mean, for me personally, one of my favorite parts of the competition is the early preliminary rounds, where they're like, in the past we've had like 150 people enter, and it's always awesome just to see so many different people of different skill levels, of different walks of life, of different experience levels and all that sort of stuff entering, and just seeing people kind of all just rally behind the same thing is always just really exciting. And I also love it when a lot of people will join and they're like, yeah, cool, I haven't really built anything in like a year, but I'm entering this contest for sure and I'm making this. And it's that, even if, because I've seen people say it before, they're like, I'd love to enter, but I know I'm not going to win. And I'm like, it's not about that. It's about testing your skills. It's about just being a part of something fun, just being a part of a larger community, and just engaging with different people, and just like having fun, you know. So it's great that the contest can be here for that. It can be there for, hey, if you want to, you know, be the best of the best and rise to the top and make something incredible and stretch the limits, you can do that. But also if you just want to have fun and learn and grow and experiment, this is also a great place for that, and a safe place for that, I think, as well, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's always cool seeing the early stuff, because like when there's more people involved, you know, there's always going to be more options for people to be really creative. And it's not that you see a lot of like homogenous stuff later in the contest. I feel like you don't, but in the earlier rounds, there's a lot less likely that that's going to happen, because there's just so many people with so many ideas, right? So like you really do get to see a pretty wide variety of styles and of like concepts and techniques and just all sorts of cool stuff. So it's really cool, like bringing everyone together and having like them all try the same things but go about them in different ways. It's still a lot of fun.
Totally. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, perfect. So on to the next question. People have often asked, how do I join the Bio Cup? So where is the best place for people to join?
So there's a group page on Flickr. I recommend using Flickr on desktop, because on mobile groups are a little weird. I don't think they ever quite finished that, how that works. But if you go to my photo stream, I have a promotional artwork for the contest, and in the description there's a link to the group. And I'm assuming you'll have a link to the group in the description as well.
100%, yeah.
When you get to the group, you'll see a join group button. Just click on that, and that should put you into the group. So that's more or less how you join the group.
Perfect. Yeah, like you said, yeah, I'll have links in the description for that. So if you you want to just have quick access to that, it'll all be there. But one thing that I discovered not that long ago, if unfortunately the Flickr app, if you're listening, Flickr, fix it, because it's not that good. There's a lot of features that you just simply can't do on the app that you can do on a browser, on a computer kind of thing. But if you don't use the app and you just go on Safari, you can do a couple features that you can't do on the app. So if you don't even have a desktop computer or a laptop or anything, give that a try, because there are subtle differences just using it on like Safari or a web browser and not actually specifically using the app. Hopefully that helps, but you know, it is definitely easier if you do go on a computer just to navigate through things. It's unfortunate just the way they've designed the website, but it's pretty straightforward. And again, if you just click on the links in the description, it'll take you right there, so you can kind of bypass all of that annoying stuff. So it's all there for you. So that's how you join the contest, and yep, links in the description once again. Now, how does the Bio Cup in general work? That's another question that people have asked.
Okay, so the contest begins on May 12th with the preliminary round, and the preliminary round is a free-for-all where everyone competes under one blanket theme, and the mocks that are entered into the preliminary round will be scored. The 81 highest scoring entries will pass on to round 1, and every round after the preliminary round will have one main theme with multiple sub-themes. Contestants will be matched into groups of 3 with their own unique sub-theme. Judges vote on the best entry of each sub-theme, and those winners will pass on to round 2. The contest continues like this until a winner is decided.
Perfect. And I definitely recommend, just because everybody always, can take in information differently, whether you're more of a visual thinker or, all that sort of stuff. Definitely take a look at some of the past Bio Cup groups, like the 2019, 2018, and past rounds of the competition, because you can kind of take a look through the different discussions and stuff and sort of just see in general how it worked in the past, just so you can get a bit of a better handle on like, okay, that's how it worked, and this is how the different rounds are done and all that sort of stuff, and kind of just go from there. Hopefully that can make things clearer, but I think that makes a lot of sense from the great way Mitch described it there, that it is essentially that. It's just different rounds you enter in, move on to the next round, all that sort of stuff. The time of this recording, because you might be like, cool, so the preliminary round's the first one, what's the theme for that round? At the time of this recording, I don't know when I'm going to have this episode out. I'm going to do my best to get it out as soon as I can, but sometimes videos take a bit to compress and all that sort of stuff. So at the moment, we can't announce that, just in case I post this before the date that it's announced. But on May 12th. Be sure to check the group, and there'll be a specific topic saying what the theme is. And additionally, I'll be covering the Bio Cup, so you can expect a video coming out on that round, giving you some inspiration for what you could do for it. So there'll be a few ways there that you can know what the round theme is, but you'll just have to stay tuned for that on May 12th. There you go.
Sounds good.
On to the next question. What is the raffle, and how does the raffle work?
So we have 2 raffles this year. The prizes for the raffles are posters. One is a New York Comic-Con 2014 exclusive poster of Liwa, Master of Air, supplied by BZ Power, and the other is a 2001 Toys R Us event exclusive poster of the Island of Montanui that I will be supplying. The raffle is very simple. It's all it really is based on promoting the contest. To enter, you have to do all the following. You have to promote the contest on any social media platform of your choice. We'll need some form of proof that you did it, so something that you can provide a link to works the best. And once you've done that, you just have to enter into the preliminary round, and you'll be entered into the raffle. You can use the provided promotional material for one raffle ticket, but you can get extra raffle tickets by creating and using your own promotional image. The raffle period ends the same day as the preliminary round, which is May 26th.
Perfect. There you go. I'm correct in saying that there'll be a discussion topic on that in the Flickr group, so if you want to see all that information again, you can just view it there, yes?
100%.
Perfect. So yeah, always a good idea to check that Flickr group, because if you have questions, I'm sure most of the time they're answered there. If they're not, you can reach out to you and the other judges to ask those questions, yes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Perfect. So that's what the raffle is. Now, you just said what the prizes were. That was another question that people have asked. So what are these prizes? Well, I know you said some of them were supplied by BZ Power and yourself, and they're these cool like posters and different things. In the past, there's been the elusive Bionicle art books and some sets and a few things like that. And there's a few more sets this year, isn't there?
Yeah, actually, there's actually quite a bit more sets this year. Pretty happy with that.
Ooh.
So for the finalist prizes, in third place, Scout Trooper and Speeder Bike, set number 75532, and Lava Beast, set number 71313, both generously donated by BZ Power, as well as a 2001 Toys R Us exclusive Kanohi Mask fold-out case that I will be supplying. Second place will receive Scout Trooper and Speeder Bike, Golly Master of Water, set number 70786, and a signed Golly Master of Water poster, all generously donated by BZ Power, as well as prototype pieces supplied by Judge Patrick Biggs DVD. And first place will receive Scout Trooper and Speeder Bike, Liwa Uniter of Jungle, set number 71305, Uxar Creature of Jungle, set number 71300, and an official piece of 2006 Bionicle concept art, all generously donated by BZ Power, as well as a judge-built BioCup 2020 trophy. And finally, we have Best in Show. Best in Show is a new prize category. Put simply, the judges are going to pick one mock as the best mock in the whole contest. The winner will receive Scout Trooper and Speeder Bike, and a one-of-a-kind official Hero Factory concept art, both generously donated by BZ Power. Finally, our friend Socketball Masks will be creating 3 unique masks for the finalists. 1 Mask of Life, 1 Mask of Creation, and 1 Mask of Control. The finalists can choose which mask they want in order of their placement. So in other words, first place gets first pick, second has second pick, and third gets what's left.
Wow, there is way more than normal. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm suitably jealous of those concept arts. Those sound incredibly cool.
You're not the only one. Oh my goodness, you know how much I want a Hero Factory concept art?
Yeah. Wow. I love too that Patrick's donating more of those prototype pieces and stuff, because a lot of people in the past have asked about Jafer's mock that he made, which Azazel, that's what it's called. Oh, the name almost escaped me, but I got it in the end. That uses the mask that he got from coming second, I believe, in BioCup in the past. Yeah. And that was one of those pieces, and so Patrick will be donating something similar to that. And always cool to get a really unique mask like that, or really unique piece that's misprinted in the wrong color, or has a marble effect to it, or whatever. And that and that concept art, and heck, even just some of those sets. That's really, really cool prize. I like that best in show idea as well. That's a cool new one. That's there's some really cool stuff this year. Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's I'm really excited. I'm kind of jealous of the concept art. I'm such a sucker for concept art. It's so cool seeing stuff that like didn't go further, and it's like what could have been. I don't know. I'm real big into like media preservation. So like seeing things like
Yeah.
this just like really gets me going. It's just so cool to see these kinds of things.
I totally agree. Yeah, I don't buy a huge amount of them, but I always like when I do buy concept art books for movies and things, and you're like, wow, at one point that character was going to be like, you know, green and have hair and stuff, and like, wow, and now they're so different, and it is. I agree with you. It's always interesting to see what could have been and all that sort of stuff. That's awesome, and the fact that it's official too, like it's not just a scanned sketch or whatever it is, you know, the actual concept art. That's really really cool. Wow,
I'm excited.
Yeah, it's one of those things that because. That was a question that someone actually asked me on Instagram. I'll get their name up here, but the question was, would you ever enter the Bio Cup in reference to me being Ben? And man, I just far prefer covering it to, like, I'd love to enter it because it would be fun, and you know, God, I'd love some of those prizes. But I don't know. To me, it's always about community, and I feel that myself and others would get more out of covering it, and covering it's just way more fun for me too. So I don't think I would, but it's always tempting when I hear those sorts of prizes.
Yeah.
There you go. No, that's awesome. Some really good prizes this year. On to the next question. This one, doesn't have a specific person who asked it because a whole bunch of different people asked this one. The question was, do I need a lot of pieces to enter or win the competition?
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about this lately. I'm going to say part count doesn't really matter so much as how you use the parts that you have. BioCup rounds are pretty short. So the time frame encourages you to get a little more creative with the parts that you do have, rather than focusing on parts that you don't. And in the past, there have been a lot of simpler mocks with a low part count that have passed the rounds they've been entered into. So judges aren't really looking for how many pieces you have and how much you're using. It's more about how you're using what you're using.
For sure, yeah. And I mean, like, a lot of, if you, not to plug my own show, but if you need more inspiration, always watch the Bionicle Inspiration series, because that's something I cover a lot, of how you don't need a lot of pieces to make a really good mock, because it's about, the techniques you use, how cool your color blocking or your color layering or the color scheme you've used or the texturing you've got, or all that sort of stuff. It's more about the techniques and the cool character design, all that sort of stuff. That's what the judges are certainly looking for. And by the way, when I say that's what the judges are looking for, I'm referring to Mitch and all the other judges. This is something that I think a lot of people can get confused on, and fair enough. I am not a judge for the Bio Cup. I'm actually not a part of the Bio Cup. I just cover the Bio Cup. I'm a quote-unquote sponsor for the Bio Cup. I'm affiliated with them in that sense, but people have come to me before and asked me questions about the Bio Cup, like, oh, can I do this for the Cup, or can I do this? Please don't. I mean, you're welcome to send me those questions, but I can't give you an effective answer. That's a way better question to be asking Mitch or any of the other judges, because I'm not a judge. I can't give you an answer that would. I mean, I may be able to give you an answer that would be accurate, but you're better off asking them, because they're the ones who are essentially running the competition. But yes, no, I think that's a really good point that you said about pieces versus technique and all that sort of stuff, because I think we've had a whole bunch of examples in the past of people who have gone far, who haven't used a lot of pieces, and they've just still built something really cool. So it's the case. You don't necessarily need to do a Bricklink order or spend hundreds of thousands of dollars or anything on making something. You use the pieces you've got and go to town with those, experiment and play, and you'll get something cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Totally. So that's it for some of the more broader questions. These now were some of the really good questions that people asked on the Instagram post that we put out. We got 3 of these ones here. So the first question that we've got is kind of going off of the tails of the last one here. This was, are there any steps in place that the BioCup is taking to encourage builders who are not as prevalent to participate? And this question was by Biomaker. What are your thoughts on that one there, Mitch?
So I think currently the raffle is a good way of encouraging participation, because even if you, let's say, don't make it past round 2 or even the preliminary round, there's still that chance of being entered to win even a little bit of something, whether it's like posters or a mask or something like that. We've been doing that since 2018, and I think that I'd like to think that's helped boost some activity. Last year we ran kind of like a side event that we called Redemption Round. That was like for anyone who had fallen out of the contest or had been knocked out by someone else, and that got a lot of participation. And we weren't like crazy about how it went, so we're gonna change how that works for this year.
Cool.
But I think what we've got plan for this year is a lot better, and I think it's going to encourage a lot more participation. So even if you feel like, maybe you can't get to the end, maybe you can't be a finalist, like there's still stuff for you here. I want to reveal a bit more information about how that event is going to work once the preliminary round ends, but
Cool.
I think it's worth saying that people are gonna like it.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, always a good idea to just stay tuned to the BioCup discussions and things on the Flickr group there, because, like you said, more stuff's going to get announced, and more ways for you to win and go far in the competition are always going to be there. Another incentive as well to enter and participate and all that is the fact that you could be featured on the Bionicle Inspiration Series, because of course I'm covering it, and so mocks that are featured in it can stand a chance of being featured on the show. That being said, I haven't gone into detail about how I'm covering the contest this year. It won't be as comprehensive as I have done in the past, just because the date for the contest has moved, and I'm still in uni, I'm not on break, so I don't have as much time to really pump out episodes. That being said, it's still going to be comprehensive, just not as comprehensive as before. So you can stay tuned for that. Like I said, I'll be doing before each round is released, like on pretty much on the day of release, if not the day after, I'll release a Bionicle Inspiration Series episode specifically focusing on whatever that theme was, and then additionally I'll do a few episodes relating to the mocks that were entered into the round, the ones that won, the ones that didn't win. So if you've entered into it, you have a much higher chance of being featured on the show, and I know that's something that people get quite excited about, being featured on the show. So if that's an incentive for you, that is the case. You do stand a high chance in that sense. So there you go.
Yeah. So the same goes for other like Lego blogs and stuff like the Brothers Brick, Brick Nerd, and so on and so forth. I've noticed that when the BioCup starts up, we get a lot of the mocks made for the BioCup blogged on those websites. So if that is something that encourages you to build, having your name kind of put out there and reaching a wider audience, I guess.
Totally.
This might be something that you would want to participate in, because the past few years there's been a lot featured from BioCup.
For sure, yeah. And I mean, I'm also a part of the team with Tips and Bricks, who are on Facebook and Instagram, and they post a lot of different technique and tip related Lego videos and posts on those places, and so I make a lot of the videos for them. Whether or not you're featured on the Bionicle Inspiration Series, you may still be featured in like a Tips and Bricks related video or post, because I still have a lot of those down the line, and a lot of them will also be Bionicle related in the near but distant future there. So don't be discouraged if I finished my coverage for a specific round of this year's BioCup and you're like, mine wasn't featured. It could very much just as well be featured in one of those videos or some of the future Bionicle Inspiration Series videos, because I've covered countless mocks that have been featured on the BioCup in other episodes that aren't BioCup coverage. So there's plenty of opportunities that would even go past once the BioCup has ended. So I think there's a lot there, honestly, which is really, really cool. Yeah. Let's now move on to the next question. This one was by Lord Oblivion, and this one is kind of a bit of a different question, but I think it's still fun. Lord Oblivion asked, what's the best part about covering the BioCup? So obviously this is a bit more directed towards me, but I also wanted to direct this towards Mitch in terms of what's your favorite part about being a judge and running the competition. So actually, did you want to answer that first? What is your favorite part about that?
It's going to sound kind of cliche, but I mean, it really is like, seeing all the really cool mocks and like being surprised at what people come up with, and, hearing kind of their creative process of seeing it unfold. I enjoy organizing it, but I get a bit anxious sometimes about it. So like, it's fun, but sometimes it gets to me a bit. So like when it finally begins, it's sometimes or often kind of a cathartic feeling for me, especially once mocks start rolling in, like, people are really like engaging with each other, like in public groups and so on and so forth. It's cool seeing, and it sounds so tacky, but it really is cool seeing everyone come together for like a common cause, I guess. It's just a lot of fun.
No, that isn't. I don't think that's tacky at all. I think that's awesome. I think I actually have a pretty similar response to the question of that. Like it's kind of like I said at the start of the episode, like I love seeing everyone enter, who are from different walks of life, different skill levels, all that sort of stuff, all entering into the same competition, just to have fun, or just to see whether or not they can advance forward and advance their skills, all that sort of stuff. That's certainly something I really love seeing. I also love seeing it as a contest. You know, like there's been past rounds where I've really been following someone and I'm like, oh, they're gonna win, aren't they? And then they get knocked out or they do advance to the next round, and it's all the twists and turns and all that sort of stuff. I do quite enjoy that aspect of the contest. But I don't know. I think my favorite part is yeah, kind of what I said before, just that really early round where there's just a wealth of stuff coming in, and you know, it's so cool that even though Bionicle, Construction, Hero Factory, all that sort of stuff has been dead as a theme for when I say the word dead, it's such a dramatic word for it, but the theme is no longer on the shelves. You can't go out and buy it. It's sort of that more of a niche hobby, niche love of Lego. The fact that, you know, hundreds of people enter the Bio Cup, even though this is a theme that isn't around these days. That's so awesome that the spirit and love of it is still alive. And this is just a great way of kind of representing and showing that.
Yeah, I was just thinking earlier today, like, I mean, just not too long before we started recording, like, if Bionicle fans are nothing if not dedicated.
Yeah.
And it's really cool seeing like that love come alive when this starts up. It's infectious, you know.
Yeah.
You start feeling it yourself.
100%. I totally agree with you there. The final question that we'll have, and then we'll go into a few mocks from other rounds of the Bio Cup. This is by Buttloaf Builds, good old Buttloaf, and he says, how are ties settled if the judges have the same scores?
In the preliminary round, which is the only one that's actually scored, there's very little chance of there being a tie. If there is, we can go back and readjust some scores as necessary. In the later rounds when we're voting, if there does happen to be a tie, because there's 5 of us, it'd be like 2, 2, and 1. And if everyone's like, you know, real set on their votes, we do have some other people who help us, like, you know, you and Lord Oblivion and Andrew from Beaks of Power.
Mm-hmm.
So we can always reach out to some of the partners that we have, and they can help us break some ties if we absolutely need it. I think we needed it in 2018, but since then I don't think we've really had to worry too much about ties.
Yeah, cool. Okay, but still, it's good that you have that sort of stuff in place if you need it. Yeah, that's good to hear. So there you go, Buttloaf. There's your question answered. Thank you very much, Mitch. All right, so we have another question actually from Coneman8, and he says, "Can I use my own cloth on my mocks?" Okay,
so I'm gonna like branch this out to part modification in general. BioCup is mostly a purist contest, so we don't really allow a lot of different kinds of part modifications. So like, no custom cloth, no Sharpie or painted pieces, but we do allow removing the print off of a piece if it matches another piece. So like a CCBS shell with print on it that comes unprinted, you could take the print off of that. You can cut flex tube and pipe, but only to match other lengths that LEGO has produced it in. And one is escaping me right now.
That's okay. Do you need to quickly look it up?
I might have to, yeah. Hang on.
That's okay. Well, while you're looking that up then, certainly, like, you know, that all makes sense kind of thing, but looking at what Coneman specifically said of, can I use my own cloth on mocks? I assume, of course, that does mean custom cloth, but of course there would be nothing wrong with using, you know, the official cloth that you do get from official Lego sets, like, you know, the cloth that you get from, like, Vizon in the Bionicle sets, or, like, Ferno XL comes with a cape, or a whole bunch of the Bionicle Star Wars Ultra Build sets come with cloth pieces and stuff. So, of course, you could by all means use those, and you know, certainly one thing to always consider or have fun with is the fact that you can play around with some obscure Lego pieces. You know, there are a whole bunch of really weird ones out there from some older sets or even some more recent sets. So, you know, you could always consider playing with some of those too. Nothing wrong with that.
And so I found it. So any modification that is reversible, so like, you know, taking the arms off of a minifigure, or some of the buildable action figure heads have sockets screwed into them, so you could like unscrew that to use the sockets. Because that's, you know, you could screw that right back on.
Oh yeah.
Last year we had an entry by Balam Nom Nom that had a Batman head, like the cowl of the buildable action figure of Batman, but he put it on a different like face. So we allowed that because you could put the cowl back on, and we also allow misprint and prototype pieces.
Awesome. Yeah, cool. Well, that makes sense. Let's now move on to those 3 mocks. So yeah, like I said, these will be 3 mocks from past rounds of the Bio Cup, and it's definitely a good thing to gauge the way that Mitch is looking at these different mocks here. What sort of stuff can he is he saying? What sort of stuff is he liking about these mocks, and how can you implement aspects like that into your stuff? So hopefully through listening to some of this, you can gain a bit of an edge if you're planning on entering the Bio Cup, and you can really play to the strengths that Mitch is really liking in these mocks here when you're building your own stuff. So let's begin with, I would say, Sergei's mock. So this is by Sergei Rakamanov and is called The Way Out. So you picked all these mocks, Mitch. What is it about this specific mock here that you like so much? Why did it advance into the next round of the Bio Cup?
So all the mocks that we're going to talk about today, I actually asked the other judges of the contest which ones were their favorites from the last year.
Cool.
This one was picked by Marco or Cesium and by Rock Monster 2000, and they both said that what really drew them in was the presentation and how the mock played with perspective. And I mean, just looking at it, it's like it's hard to talk about this one. It's very like, I mean, again, God, I don't even know how to talk about it.
No, that's okay. I do you want me to share some of my thoughts, and hopefully that can kind of jig you a bit?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, sure.
I'm drawing a blank here.
No, that's okay. It's okay. I mean, believe me, like with the amount of bis I've done, I do that constantly. Where I'm like, I don't know, this is just good. I don't know what to say. What I love so much about it is yes, like you said, the presentation. That's one of the cool things about the Bio Cup that I've seen a few builders do is, with a typical mock, sometimes you can be tempted to want to have like it be something you view from 360 degrees, whereas with the Bio Cup you can just enter like one or two pictures. And so with that, you can actually play a lot with sort of forced perspective and stuff. So this mock here, the city in the background, if you were to, tilt this mock on its side and look at it in another direction, you would see a city in the background that's not actually attached to the rest of it. But when you look at it from that one angle there, you can see, more of the city and all that sort of stuff. And it very much looks like it's, this portal opening up and a world on the other side. So that's one of the cool things you can certainly do with the Bio Cup is play with perspective and make something look a little bit different than it actually would in the real world. Or maybe you're planning on building this massive tower but you're running out of time or you don't have enough pieces. Well, you could play with the photography so that it looks like it's a really massive tower, but really with the angle of the photograph you're just kind of playing with perspective, so this tower looks massive but in reality it's not as massive, so that's awesome. But the thing that really shines on this mock for me is it's not a humanoid character, and there's of course nothing wrong with building a humanoid typical like Toa or a character like that, but this mock is this sort of platform with different stairs and this portal and this sort of minifigure scale looking like little priest saint guy at the bottom there. It's so unique and so rare to see Bionicle builders playing with stuff that you more typically see with system. Like on a system mock or a system set or something, you can see like, a base with stairs and a platform and like a doorway or a portal or something. You can see that sort of stuff in like some of the old Atlantis sets, like pretty much word for word essentially. And it's being built with Bionicle. Like he's using those Hordean necks as rails for stairs. He's using arm connector pieces for the actual stairs themselves and repeating this beautiful pattern there to form this portal. Like it's so rare to see, like a play set essentially built in Bionicle. Like that's so different to the norm. So I think what really makes this mock shine is that it's doing that. It's playing with things that you don't typically see, like forced perspective and stairs and a portal. That to me is what makes this mock really shine. Is that kind of along the lines of what you were thinking?
Yeah, that's very well said. I mean, it's got so many creative part uses and such a cool idea. This was built for an architecture theme, and I believe his sub theme was like science fiction, because the sub themes are like fantasy, science fiction, and then reality. Yeah. So with this one, you have like all these science fiction elements like technology and space travel and like portals, and this is like utopia in the background. And it's like it does such a great job of like embodying that theme. It uses all these really cool, like really greebled parts to kind of get that idea across of like tech and the future and stuff, and using all those like trans blue elements really gives you like kind of like the idea of like beams of light, and using the spark effects on the actual portal itself gives it such a cool tech vibe. It's got so much like, it's got a lot of energy and it's got a lot of like dynamic elements going on. It's really quite breathtaking.
Yeah, and I think that's also something that is always encouraged with the Bio Cup in past rounds, and we've discussed this in past podcasts and things, is people have so much liberty with the rounds because they're often very open-ended. They're very broad, I guess, for lack of a better term. You know, like for example, you said this one was architecture. So there's so much you could do for that. It's not so much like, you know, for this round you have to specifically build a red tower of fire that has a big sword or something. Like it's open for interpretation. And I know from the past you've always said that you and the judges love it when people explore the boundaries of what it means for the round. So for example, maybe the round is fire, and you know someone builds a mock of a boss firing someone. So it's, you know, it's still technically fitting the theme, but it's playing with the ways that you can do it, and that stuff is always encouraged and is always fun. And you know, if you're a builder and you're like, yeah, that sounds cool, but I want to try something different, that's definitely something that you're at liberty to do. And I think this mock does that pretty well. It still very much fits the theme, but it's taking it to different areas, and that's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. It's such a creative idea, and it's so like well realized. You know, with so many cool visual elements that bring that great idea to life. Like, I mean, even just the inclusion of like a little character inside the build, like seeing it on its own, it would be very impressive. But having that focus, that sort of human element to it, it really brings the whole scene together.
Totally. And I also think this is another great example of building a mock that doesn't actually require a huge amount of pieces. For example, you kind of look at that portal, it is sort of the same, you know, you've got that sort of larger silver armor piece, that kind of waist piece with the blue stud on it, and that's essentially just repeated a bunch of different times and kind of getting that sort of circular angle to it. You take a look at the stairs, it's essentially the same pieces but repeated again and again. You know, it's not necessarily requiring a huge amount of parts. Like, this isn't some Titan that uses, you know, 20,000 pieces in it. It probably isn't even over like 1,000 pieces. You know, it's probably, I don't know, I'm terrible at calculating the amount of pieces and stuff, but it's not a huge amount of them. If this was a set, it would be like, you know, a $30-$40 set. It wouldn't be that expensive. And it's it's playing with textures, it's repeating patterns, it's repeating pieces. You know, it's something that I think could be pretty easily achieved if you've got those pieces. And of course, if you don't, you know, find a different way of approaching it, you know, but you can always do similar principles like that of repeating parts and building something that is a bit more small but focused and refined, you know. I think that's something else this mock does very well.
Yeah, parts repetition is a very like effective way of communicating an idea, especially if you're going for, you know, something like this where like the stairs are obviously going to repeat, so there's no need to like design each stair individually. So having those repeat brings the idea together, makes a more effective design. The portal itself, you know, it's supposed to look like one big portal, so having it repeat the same pattern makes a lot of sense because that's just the logical design of a machine like this. You know, the part of the mock that really breaks that is, well, the inclusion of the robot guy in the corner, but he's not of the machine, so he obviously can look different. And the city in the back doesn't continue that design principle. It's more varied than the portal itself. So while the portal is highlighting the city, just, you know, merely by existing, this city also has enough visual interest and enough like contrast in the city's design itself, that you kind of look all around the city once your eye is drawn into the portal. Another thing I think he's done excellently to bring your eye into the portal is having two sets of stairs at a diagonal. When you're looking at them, your eye is naturally just drawn into the center of the staircase, which then leads right into the portal, and the portal is a nice circle that's framing the city. So your eye is just naturally drawn right up into the city, which is also perfectly centered in the middle of the way.
Definitely. That's also something that I definitely recommend people look into, whether it's for the Biocup or just in general, like really looking at other art that isn't Lego related. And a lot of those sorts of principles exist in that sort of thing, you know, where in a photograph, you know, you take it so that, you know, the person that's sort of the main crux of the photo, there are specific lines in the image that really draw your attention towards them, or like that you put something in there to frame something to draw your attention to it. That's always something that can be really clever if you're trying to communicate a specific thing or trying to highlight something. You know, what sort of stuff can you do to really draw the user's attention to that? That's always really good design, and you know, it's not always something that's easy, and sometimes it can be a little ham-fisted or obvious, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad if that's the case. But it's definitely something that is worth paying attention to. And it may not work for your mock. You might just be building a humanoid character and you don't need something to be the focal point because it's just a whole character. But if you're building a bit more of a scene like this, or you're trying to photograph an actual kind of moment, maybe you have built a humanoid character, but they're sitting at a table and having tea, but then there's a spider in the background that's going to bite them or something, and you want to draw attention to the spider. Well, maybe you build a bush in the foreground that has a few lines naturally in the design that kind of draw your attention towards it, or you have the eye gaze of a character looking towards the spider, so you as the person naturally go, oh, well, what are they looking at? Oh, they're looking at the spider. Oh no. Are there little subtle elements you can put in if it fits the mock you're making that can communicate stuff? That's I agree, that's such a clever element of the design that he's done here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, visual composition can go a long way when it's when it's something that is necessary.
Totally, yeah. The last thing I've got to say about this mock, which is something I always enjoy whenever I'm building something. How you said before, the city through the portal is, each building is a different design. It uses different pieces and stuff. That sort of thing for me, I always think is so much fun because it is this sort of sci-fi looking city. And even with modern cities, every building is distinctly different. It's not a bunch of different cloned buildings. Sometimes they can be very similar shapes, but they have different colors to them, or different windows, or different signs, or whatever. That, to me, I think if I was building this, would probably be the bit that I have the most fun designing, is doing all those different buildings, because you just take out all your white, pour it on the floor, grab random pieces, look at it in a certain way and go, yeah, that could be a tower. Each individual one would be so fun because it's, different from the last one. You can really play with clever part usages and the fact that they aren't unified and they aren't all the same. You can really go to town and experiment with different stuff. I think that would be really fun to make, and I'm sure you would agree with that, Mitch.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's a lot of fun seeing stuff like that, and asymmetric design. Sometimes it's very visually appealing.
100%. That's kind of it for all my thoughts on that. Is there anything else you wanted to say, or shall we move on to the next one?
Yeah. So one more thing, I got to see this one at Pritzker, Virginia, 2019, and earlier you said you were terrible at judging part count. I am terrible at judging the size of mocks.
Oh, right.
I think the last time we discussed BioCup, I mentioned that he did the red, white, and blue eagle, and I was surprised that it was smaller than I thought.
That's right.
And I had that same feeling with this one. It might be smaller than the eagle, which surprised me. But obviously the size of the mock is not something that adds or detracts to something. I just thought it was interesting going to see it, just how compact it was, because you look at it and it looks big and grand and has so many intricate details, and then when you actually see it, you can hold it with in one of your hands, right? And it's such a cool it was so cool to see it really challenged my perception of it, and how the presentation of a mock can add so much to it,
For sure.
And it was cool getting to see it, the city. In hindsight, this makes so much sense, but you don't think about it when you look at the photo. The city isn't attached. It's built on other pieces, and it's just put off farther in the distance than the actual portal, and then he's just aligned it in his camera.
Yeah.
You don't think about it because it doesn't need to be attached, but you kind of assume it's attached just because that's the nature of the hobby.
100%.
And so when you see it in person, you're like, oh yeah, it's just floating on its own.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was really cool. It was cool checking out all the techniques in person. Mocks look so different in person. There's nothing like seeing a photo of a mock and seeing the mock itself is a very different experience. It's always really cool, I think.
I completely agree with that. Yeah. I also love that too, just kind of what we were saying before of how the fact that this mock is that forced perspective with the city, that is such an awesome detail and something you can easily do for the BioCup. Just how beneficial that is. It's like you said, when you saw it in person, you're like, oh, this is very different to what I expected. Well, can you use that to your advantage with the BioCup? Can something maybe not look as good from some angles, but just the way you take the photo, you don't have to worry about that, and the judges won't see that, they won't know, and, you can get away with a few things here. It's like the example I use all the time where I'm like, putting cloth on a mock can be awesome because, you can make them look like Emperor Palpatine and they're this evil hooded figure, but if you were to take the cloth off, it's sort of a more bare bone, whatever kind of design underneath, but you don't need to worry about that because you're building this sort of evil hooded figure, dark wizard character, Can you do little stuff like that where, when you take the picture, the mock looks beautiful, but People judging it, they don't know about the pink slippers that are underneath the the robes there that just don't work with the mark. But you've used it to your advantage and still made it look good. That's something to consider for sure.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Perfect. The next mark that we'll talk about now, this one's by VB and is called Night Sky Colossus. So again, you were saying that the judges and you sort of collectively picked these three mocks to talk about. So what were some of the reasons behind picking this one?
Night Sky Colossus. This is an interesting one. I put that out to all the judges to pick what they decide is their best. And when I was scrolling through all the ones to see what I liked the most, this one I kind of picked like a list of stuff that I really liked, and then I was kind of like weeding things out as I went. And this was on my initial list. I ended up taking it off because I love it. It's just gorgeous. But there were some other things just personal tastes. Asking all the other judges, every single one of them picked this as like a potential. All the judges have very different tastes and very different building styles, so it really surprised me that this was like almost a collective pick that just everyone talked about this. Pat even said he thinks that this is the best mock of 2019.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So a lot of the points that they brought up were it's like visual simplicity. It's very minimalist. It leaves a very strong impact on you just like looking at it. It's a strong image. It uses color expertly, and it has such a strong like character-driven presence. It suffers a little bit with the legs. The techniques being used there don't quite line up with some of the rest of it, but just the overall look and presence of the mock is like it just grabs your attention and doesn't let go. It's really gorgeous. A lot of the judges said that it almost looks like it shouldn't be Lego.
Yeah, I could agree with you on that. 100%. No, that's beautiful. Some of the things that I like about it, I think directly tie into what you said there. Some of the texture play on this is beautiful. Like there's no gaps. It all sort of flows beautifully into each other, and all the pieces have that very similar sort of smooth texture to them. Especially what you said of like it almost doesn't look Lego. Like just how those pieces flow into each other. It's very seamless, and it's fantastic. And I think that's always something to bear in mind too. Like play with your textures when you're entering the competition and building for it. Focus on that, not having things be too gappy, having them all flow nicely. And a lot of the time talk about texture in the Bionicle Inspiration series, and it can be related to very smooth things like this. You don't have to have a mock be super smooth for it to be a good texture. You can have it be more detailed and greebly for it to be a good texture. It's all just about picking pieces that have very similar textures to them and then using it collectively. Like it doesn't necessarily work texture-wise to have a very sort of gritty, dirty, mechanical-looking piece next to a smoother piece, but that could be the aesthetic you're going for, and it works. There's always exceptions to rules. There's no absolutes necessarily. So just doing that, having a very unified texture is just can take you a long way, and I think that's one of the big things that makes this mock look so fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. Texture is interesting because I know I'm definitely guilty of this too, and a lot of people kind of look at textures like as long as the whole mock is one consistent texture, that's good, and that can be good. Texture is more about like the texture you're using should have like visual information, right? And it should be very like deliberate. Like if you're going to use something that is more mechanical, more greebly, it should be for a purpose, right? Like on a machine, right? Like a spring. A spring is going to have a very specific texture compared to like armor, for instance. So using textures very deliberately and very intentionally is a good way of maximizing, like creating a more effective design. And with this mock in particular, because this is a adaptation of Greek Titan Kronos, I believe.
I believe you. I'm not sure.
Okay, the planet is Uranus, and so which is a gaseous planet. So he's made the mock look like clouds, and he's included like stars, space, right? So the more like puffy, kind of bulbous textures of this character's like torso and arms and legs, it looks like clouds. Now that's the purpose behind it. So I think it's not necessarily a detracting point that it's all smooth, because it's got the ridges are like accentuated by it to achieve that cloud look.
No, that's cool. Yeah, kind of what you were saying with all the different stars and different elements there on this mock. I myself love that. It kind of reminds me of again, the name's escaping me, but it's a Marvel character that essentially they're a humanoid figure, and just all of their body is just like constellations and planets and stars and stuff. And I think the idea is that it's like the entire like universe is this character, and like you live inside them, kind of thing. I guess kind of like Tanui. And I very much see elements of that on this character here, like it's sort of a living constellation almost. And the stars on it are, you know, actual stars, and the body is just the black space, you know. I love that. There's just some very distinct, kind of unique visual storytelling to that. It's just an abstract and unique concept. I've started to talk about this a bit recently in different episodes of the Bionicle Inspiration series and the Whip Workshop and stuff, where I've said play with the abstract. Like, you know, it's one thing to build something that's a very literal representation. You know, like I think the theme for this round was Uranus, like you said, but I think people were all covering different planets from the solar system, and you could very much just be like, oh yeah, this is the god that represents this planet from, you know, Greek or Roman mythology. Or it could just be like, this is me literally building that planet, you know, and it's just, here's a big orb made out of Bionicle parts. But I love that this mock is really going into the abstract and going, you know, this is a literal representation of a constellation, but in humanoid form, and one of the stars on its body represents Uranus, and there's these little blue highlights on it that give it this subtle, like, because this mock could just be black and white, but I think there's little blue highlights really give it this celestial cosmic look. That kind of takes it more into this sort of ethereal plane almost. It's just a lovely little detail that goes a long way. Yeah, there's just I can see where Pat's coming from with one of his favorite mocks from 2019 here. There's a lot going on, and a lot that's, again, you know, breaking boundaries and playing with things and going into different places. That's, you know, definitely one of the awesome things about the BioCup, you know.
For sure. It's got such a, like you said, with the stars and the blue, it, like, the colors just really grab you. That, like, sleek professional minimalism, and then you have those like little spots of blue to really highlight the shine of the stars, especially on the head. It just, like, you're just drawn up to that head, and like the right in the middle is that blue diamond. It's like looking right back at you. It's such a cool image. It's so powerful.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, you know, certainly this round, it's like I said, a lot of the different planets have, you know, god counterparts from, you know, different mythologies and things, and there's definitely a grandeur and a kind of godlike aspect that could be derived from this theme. And it's amazing how much this mock does communicate that. There is this sort of cosmic, very powerful sense to this mock. What you were saying about the face before, how it's almost staring back at you, like, this is kind of the first time I realized that it almost kind of looks like an eye, but at the same time it also looks like a planet. At the same time it looks like a shooting star. Like, it could be so many different things, and that's kind of up to the interpretation of the viewer. And I think that's, again, where this mock really excels, is that it can be all these different things at the same time, and also none of them. You know, it's up for interpretation, which is a delicate thing to do. I think that can be very difficult, because sometimes, you know, I've read scripts, or I've looked at art pieces, most of them not Lego actually, where people are like, oh yes, I'm trying to do this, and I'm like, or they're like, I'm leaving it up to interpretation, and I'm like, I don't think you're actually doing that. I think you yourself don't know what to do with it, so you're just like, yeah, it's up for the audience to decide. And it can be a very delicate thing, because you kind of have to play that balance of, you know, am I just going, yeah, it's whatever, you figure it out, or do you have a lot of things in place on the mock that are obviously communicating that? Like, this mock is black and white and has stars on it, so it very much clearly looks like a night sky. There's the blue on it, which sort of represents like cosmic stuff. And, you know, like, I wouldn't be surprised if VB came back and said, I researched a lot about the cosmos and mythology and all that sort of stuff, and put little notes in the mock about that. You know, I feel to be able to really effectively build an artwork that could be many different things, and it's up to the viewer's interpretation. You need to put a lot of research into it and put in a lot of little subtle symbolism and things like that, so that an audience can look at it and immediately conjure that up. And I think this mock is a great example of that. That was a little bit of a full-on description there, and hopefully people are still following. But again, I say all this, you don't need to do years of research and planning and put symbolism and all this amazing stuff in your mock to enter or win the BioCup, but it'll definitely give you an advantage. And, you know, if you're not doing that, you can still win, because I'm sure people who have won the BioCup haven't done that sort of stuff, but it's certainly something that could give you an edge, at least, you know. And I would argue that's a bit more of a advanced tip, but, you know, it's something to consider. Hopefully that made sense there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, I
Cool,
gotcha.
cool.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, I like what you were saying about like up to interpretation. 'Cause I've been in the same experiences where like people say it's up to interpretation. It's clear that they don't know what they're talking
Yeah.
about, or they don't have a complete idea themselves. And this I agree with you. The head on this one really embodies that, like being a star, being a planet, and being a face all at once. And the audience can see it any of those ways or all of those ways. It's a very simple, basic design, but it carries a lot of information.
Totally.
You see that kind of continued on through the torso with like the way the stars kind of shine on them. Like very simple, easy to like understand at a glance, but like you can look more into it. It's just really cool.
Yes, I couldn't agree
like
more.
it a lot.
Yeah, definitely. So that's it from VB. Great job. This one now is Surreal, Prince of God by Vao at Hellcas. I think I'm saying that right.
So.
Cool, perfect. It's nice having someone here who can tell me if I did or didn't. So again, this was another one picked by you guys. So what is it that you liked about this one?
So this one, I actually asked our newest judge, Daniel Wong, for an answer, and he picked Vaio's Sariel, Prince of God. He said that while the texture could be done a bit more smoothly, the visual impact is very striking, and it really holds your attention. Yeah. So looking at it, it's a very like you were saying about abstract. I think this goes even further into the abstract.
Totally.
This like angelic being with no head, arms, or legs, but it has like this crucifix behind it and this black halo. Like it's such a like Daniel said, it's so like striking. You look at it and like can't look away. It's so bizarre, unusual. I don't know. It's so I've never seen anything quite like it. Like the way he's used parts like to create the wings and to like create the abs and the like the muscles, but then not quite completing the figure. It's like human but not quite, and you just want to keep looking at it and try to understand it more. So it's so like you said, it's very, very striking.
Yes, yeah. I think that this is quite similar to VB's in terms of kind of the stuff I was saying before. Like it can very much be open to interpretation, but that's because there's a lot of very deliberate choices on this. Like you said, there's a crucifix on it, but to some degree you could argue that crucifix is more of a plus sign. Like, a crucifix is a long line and then a short line in the middle, whereas this is sort of equal lines. So it kind of conjures up thoughts of religion, but is not quite that, Yes, it has that halo. Again, there's more religious overtones to that. It has wings, but the wings are sort of lower down on the body and they're sort of drooping down. So again, you kind of think like an angel, but then you're like, is it a fallen angel? Because Mock is sort of more sinister looking with its like rib cage almost. And there's little gold bits that sort of, again, kind of give you a sense of, heaven or something. But this, black and dark red as well. You're like, is it like fallen from grace? Is it more of evil? It's got a lot of deliberate choices that are beautifully contrasting against each other. And then, like you said, it doesn't have arms, it doesn't have legs, it doesn't necessarily even have a head. And, there's a lot of sort of deliberate sort of symbolism there that even, like, I don't really know what it means. I'm not sitting here being like, oh, this is clearly a representation of 1940s New York City. Like, it's communicating something. I don't know what that is, but it's still cool, and there's a lot of deliberate choices on it that, relate to imagery that people are very familiar with, and it's playing with those and experimenting with those. And I think that's such a great way to play with the abstract stuff that we've been talking about a bit today. And he's doing it, quite flawlessly, I think.
Yeah, it's such a. I mean, I know I already said this, but it is such a bizarre looking creation that like you almost kind of look at it and like. It's so unlike everything. It just grabs you like immediately for that, and then you want to look at it more because like I've never seen anything like it. I want to see like how he's created this, and like it encourages you to look into it a bit more because it's so like one of a kind.
Totally, and I'm 90% sure I'm getting this. This is the right art form in the real world, but there's the surrealism, the art form that exists in the real world, the sort of genre you can kind of play in there. And I know one of the kind of general principles of surrealism is putting things together that just simply don't relate, like at all, putting it together and creating kind of a weird, almost kind of dreamlike state with the image. And a lot of the time the intent was so that people would stare at it and try to derive meaning from it, so that they spend more time looking at it, trying to derive meaning from it and all that. And I think that you could somewhat argue that this mock is sort of doing elements of that it is a thing of like, oh, it doesn't have arms, doesn't have a head, there's wings, but they're sort of upside down, and this mock is kind of black but also white, and it's kind of evil and light at the same time. I actually think it's a very clever thing to do in the BioCup, because then the judges are going to spend even more time looking at it and realizing just how good it is. So yeah, kind of playing with those surrealist aspects here. We're going really deep with this, with art talk today, but playing with elements of that, like putting things that really don't go together, but then somehow do go together, is, again, a fine line to walk, because it could just be just confusing. But I think if you kind of mix it in with the really similar or familiar elements, like, symbol objects that kind of represent heaven and hell and stuff like that, you can really make it something special.
Yeah, Vio is so, like, he's so good at creating something with a strong presence. Yeah. Like, I don't know, it's so hard to explain. Like, he does such a good job with, capturing your eye. Like, you look through his whole photo stream and just everything is like that. That really shines here with, like, the way he's used color and the way he's used, like even the background, like that, the way that, like, the brightness of the background is kind of like surrounded by the darker shades. It kind of pulls you into that cross, which then kind of brings you down into the mock. And he's so good at capturing the audience's eye. And it's like, even like with the way that the cross has that red trans 1x1 round tile in it, like immediately you go to that, and then, like I said, it pulls you into it, and then you're looking at this very bizarre, abstract, angelic, sort of demonic being. It's I don't know, I could go on about that forever. Yeah. Just how abstract it is.
Yeah. But no, I agree with you. It's definitely something you could sit with for hours and talk about, just trying to derive meaning from it and stuff. Yeah, it's great. I love what you said too about the background, of how the background is almost aiding how you look at the mock. It's like I've said, there's a lot of interplay between the color scheme here of, heaven and hell, or dark and evil, and the background is almost doing that too. And I was looking at some of the other stuff that Vao's done, and like, that's not his typical background. He does have other backgrounds. So I love the fact that was a deliberate choice with this mock as well, to give it that background, so that it is communicating aspects of the mock. And I think that's possibly even something you could consider for the BioCup too, is what sort of background can you give your mock, and can it somehow help, represent something you're trying to communicate? Of course, definitely keep in mind that having a very, neutral background that isn't detracting from the mock is always wise. There are times that, I've seen people submit stuff for the Bionicle Inspiration series, and it can be a very distracting background, and it can be very hard to actually look at the mock because there's a lot going on behind it. So definitely, since people are judging it, it would be wise to go outside, find a sort of white wall or something like that. But if you want to even take it a step further, can you do something like this, have a background that is aiding it somehow? I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. Kind of want to get into some of the techniques he's used here.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I really like how he's done these wings, like just using those fin pieces and those invasion from below spikes, and he's created this very, like, it's very spiky and very, like, layered, so it looks, kind of like bird and kind of like angel wings. And it's not a very, I mean, it looks complex just because of, like, all the lift arms and all the axle connectors and all, like, the clips and bars and stuff, but it's not too complex. It mostly uses just a lot of repeating elements from the way he's photographed it and the way he's, like, composed them and, like, the way he's presented them. It's a very effective looking angelic wing design, and I think it adds a lot to the mock. Like, without it, I think the mock would have really suffered.
Totally. No, I agree, and I'm glad you kind of brought more of that up, because it's like you said, it very much does look like kind of feather-like wings. But when you also look at it, it's like he's actually used claw pieces and, like, sharp fins. And, like, it's that to me is also really interesting, because again, if you were to say, oh, I'm planning on building very smooth angel wings, I'm going to use claws and piercing wings, I'd be like, well, that doesn't sound very smooth and angelic, but he's made it look smooth and angelic. And again, that's tying in with what I've been talking about, of this interplay between light and dark. That's That's also fascinating. That's really cool.
Yeah, yeah. Contrast is a very effective element of like
Mm.
visual design, and you see that with the colors here. This bright white and this deep black. But again, like something that's supposed to be like soft, like feathered wings, but he's using sharp, pointy pieces like that. It works really well, but that contrast kind of helps it go that extra mile.
Definitely, definitely, totally agree with you there. Anything else you want to talk about this? Because I feel I've kind of reached my limit. Because I mean, I could probably keep talking, but then I'll be here another hour. But is there anything else that you wanted to touch on?
Yeah, so Vio is very good at building these extremely large
Yeah.
humanoid characters with like very complex techniques and very wild
Mm.
textures. And having built some of those, that takes a lot of time. So being able to put out mocks for BioCup, which last year we had the shortest time frame for the rounds that we've ever done. It was only 10 build days. So being able to create these large, like audience catching monstrosities
Yeah.
that he made, they're like, I mean, it's commendable. Like, and I think he really used this one. Like, he found like a creative way to work with that time frame. By like, I can easily imagine this having a head and arms and legs, right? I don't think it's that he ran out of time to build those. He was aware that having less time to build the kind of stuff that he's more familiar with building, he was able to like find a creative way to work with the time limit he had while also creating something with a style
Yes.
that he's more familiar with. And I think that there's that phrase art through
Oh, yeah.
adversity. So he's been challenged to do something that's not what he's used to, so he's able to create something that's not what he typically
Yes.
creates because of it. And I think that really helped him a lot with this one. This was a fan and judge favorite. It was
100%.
very well received.
I totally agree with that, especially the thing you said of art through adversity. Like, I can condone that, but I can also condone just just chilling, having a good time, and just building, having a nice drink as you do so, whatever. That's obviously a great way to make art, but it's also a great way to make art in that sense. Like, for example, some of the university projects I've been doing, like, I was very stretched for time with some of them, and heck, like, there's a couple that I did this and last week that like I accomplished. Like, I essentially did an assessment that would have taken me, that, like, I was given a month to do it, and I ended up doing it in a week. Not the week before, I did it early, but it's that, like, I was sitting there being like, I don't know how to use the program. I'm new to this. I'm not confident in this. And then I just sort of ignored that, and then I just did it anyway, and I was able to accomplish something I'm actually really proud of. And I think that's something that is certainly something you can do with the BioCup of yes, it can be a shorter time frame that you might be used to, but use that to your advantage and let it fuel you and let it help you make something fantastic. Because even in a shorter time frame, even in a sort of scarier time, or scarier time, I more mean it might be a little bit frightening, being like, oh, I've only got 2 weeks to build this. Oh, normally I take like a month to build something. Like, oh gosh, can I do it? Give it a go. Can you? It's a challenge. See if you can. And you might end up actually really learning something or really getting somewhere with it, or not. Who knows? But give it a try. Yeah. Anything else you wanted to talk about there with that one, or are you all good now?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Perfect. Well, that's been 3 mocks. There were some of the judge favorites from past rounds of the BioCup. And so by all means, join the BioCup. And if you're interested in checking out some of the other stuff, there'll be links in the description to all the different places that you can go to learn more about the BioCup. And of course, if you have questions relating to the BioCup, there are different places that you can contact the judges for that. If you have questions about mocks that you're thinking about entering or that you're making, by all means, send messages to me for that. You cannot send those messages to the judges. I mean, you can send them to them, but they won't respond because they're the judges. They can't help you with that. But I can help you with that because I'm not a judge. So, so by all means, send me stuff if you want a bit of feedback, critique, all that sort of stuff. I'm happy to lend it to you. That's that. But Mitch, thank you very much. That was a really fun one to record there. If people want to find you on the internet, where can they find you?
So I'm mostly active on Flickr, Instagram, and Twitter. On Flickr, my username is MitchHenryCZQ with underscores between each name. On Instagram, I believe it's the same thing, and then on Twitter, it's just CZQ.
Perfect. And I'll have links in the description as well to Mitch's stuff, so be sure to check that out. And also links in the description to my social media as well, if you want to check that out too. But that's been it. Hopefully you entered this year, and thanks very much for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one.